Okay, so there's, in the yogic philosophy, as I've studied this for a while, I found something pretty interesting, is that we have the mind, which, how many of you are Gujaratis or speak Hindi or?
Speak Hindi or
okay. So they have what they call manas, or, right, manas. So that's what they call man, right? The mind, and they have chitta, which is our subconscious. And then they have our ego, but I won't say necessarily in a bad way. Ego is really the sense of I amness, I guess. It kind of proclaims I am, right? Ego, and that's called ahankara. And buddhi, which is our intellect. Okay? And let's just say this is our essence or our truth. Okay. So what happens here? This is kind of like a quick overview of what happens in the sense that, according to the yogic philosophy, and there's other views on this as well, but the mind is really the kind of supervisor of input-output in a way, right? It's more like it takes in the senses, so it kind of experiences, and it also directs what's going outward. So our moving, our eating, our running, our experiencing, right? It's kind of directing that. It's kind of going. It's using that input-output, right? And usually, what happens is that it'll pick from here, or it'll pick from here, and it'll go back and forth. It'll usually go from the subconscious or our ego, in the sense that, when we proclaim that I am tired, or I am depressed, or I am happy, or I am whatever it is, that's a big statement that we're making to ourselves. Think about it, right? Are we really depressed, right? You can say I am feeling depressed, but sometimes we say I am. So what our ego is doing is declaring and is developing our identity based on a feeling or emotion or some sort of, this whole playground is coming up here. It's kind of like in this circle here. And so what it's doing is that it's saying that we are our failures, our successes, we are our education, we are our environment, we are our expectations. This is everything that I am. And to an extent, our religion and peer pressure, whatever it is, this is where we are. And it kind of goes in this circle. We get a lot of information. And so the subconscious mind, by the way, it stores impressions from our life. So, for example, if we experience something, it's going to be put into here. It's like our mind our brain is a storehouse of energy and memories. So it's going to store it here. And so what it does is that I'm going to pick from here. And what ends up happening is this part gets really clouded. And the buddhi, or the intellect, is what really is the gateway to our truth. Intellect is what we can, if we work on this piece here, we can really start to extract some of the truths, some of the values, some of the true essences of our being. It's almost like we're this light bulb, so to speak, and everything that we're showing to the world is all this stuff, which is just really covering us, right? It's like lampshades. And then one by one, if we remove these lampshades, we're able to get to this true essence. And so that's the idea, is that today we just want to work on this idea, just to recognize that how can we get past perhaps our ego, which identifies with things that are not us necessarily. And the ego is there for a good purpose. It's supposed to be used for, without getting too complex in here, really be able to use for kind of defining ourselves in a good way. But sometimes what happens is that we get stuck into this negative habit of declaring ourselves or as something that we're really not. Okay? So, how can the mind access this? Right? And so this is the idea of, every experience that we have is a test for us in a way. If we can look at it that way, it's really a test of clarity for us. And I'll give you one more example before we take a quick break, and then we'll work on some exercises. Just the process of meeting my wife, for example, I'll give you. I think that's the best example. As you get to a certain age in the Indian community or whatnot, you find that you get a lot more pressure, peer pressure to get married or to take that step or to do whatever in your life. And at some point you kind of you start questioning yourself, in the sense that I got to the age of say like 28, 29, and I got to the point where my mom and dad, okay, all right, son, something's got to give. Okay, you gotta do something now. This is something that they were really adamant about. And so, at one trip, I like to go to India every so often. So one trip I went to India, they were trying to hook me up with somebody. And, on paper, she had everything that was perfect, right? She was from our community. She, was a vegetarian. In our community, not necessarily Jain, but in our community, we're a Kshatriya community, so we have a lot of folks that are non-vegetarians. And so this was like a diamond in the rough, so to speak, right? So she, not to badmouth this girl. This girl was an awesome person. I just, I'll kind of go through it. But what she, on paper, everything was perfect. And the moment that I met her, I just didn't get a good vibe. I just didn't get I can't. This is not the person that I could see myself with. Just having this conversation for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and really kind of forcing myself to kind of say, you know what? I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. So then I met her again, on the second day, and we had another date, and so to speak, and it just wasn't there. And then it was a big disappointment to my parents. When I said, I don't know if I could go this way, they were like, you're a disappointment to us. you're, how picky can you be? You think you're better than everybody or whatnot, and you get all these kind of statements. But then it was just their anger that was kind of coming out, so I didn't really take it to heart. But I went through an experience of just meeting so many people that at some point, when was it? In 2011. Just a month before I met my wife, I wrote down. I wrote down to myself, okay, what is it? Who is my ideal partner? Who the heck, If I knew this person existed, and I know I would never fail in finding this person, right? Like this person is out there. I know she is out there, right? So I wrote down everything that I wanted to find in a partner, and oddly enough, she kind of did the same thing on, for her New Year's resolution. She was kind of pushing her age a little bit too as she was getting up there. And she was like, I need to find somebody too. So then she wrote down, who she wanted to find or, what qualities. In a different way. It wasn't the exact match that we wrote down. We were kind of like, oh wow, we matched so well. but it was pretty close. And so when I wrote that down, so we met through Shadi.com, by the way, so just to give you an idea. I wrote this on my profile, and I wrote in a way that, describing as if I'm speaking to her, right? As if I'm speaking to somebody that, you are this, you are this, you are this, and I see you as this and person who does this. And she came back and she said, sent me a message and said, I feel like you're describing me. So I was like, okay, a lot of people say that, but I mean, not but this was specific. I felt like she really was genuine about it. And so, we ended up talking and meeting and a few years down the line, we're married. And then, so it just kind of shows that what people wanted from me, what the expectations were, what the experiences I had, they all had a play in this, but it was sometimes clouding. Some of the judgments that I took on from other people, some of the things that other people valued, like for example, my parents valued that somebody should be Gujarati when I get married, right? My wife is from New Delhi, she doesn't speak Gujarati. But it was something that they valued and they really felt was strong for them. And it wasn't a big, I mean, for me that doesn't make a difference. Language, I can, put me in, Mongolia and I'll be able to communicate with people, right? And it's just really heart to heart that you try to work. Language is just something that we divide ourselves with. And so it was clouding my truth. It was really clouding my truth as to what I really wanted, right? It was really clouding this critique. But once I just wrote down and said, what is it that I really want? And what is it that I see myself, who I see myself with? This started to come out. This was accessing and finally getting a chance to come out that way, through the mind and on paper. And for her, the same thing. And then it's funny, I don't know how much you believe in this, but when you actually make a commitment and set that intention for yourself, and just be clear on what you're looking for and what you want, it can certainly help to accelerate your growth towards a particular goal here. Okay? So with all this in mind, one thing, pick 3 of the things here that you feel like you would really want to work on or start kind of defining today. 3 of the things that, don't pick the 9s and 10s, I mean those are the ones that you are already good at. It's like cheating, it's saying, it's like Shaquille O'Neal saying, I'm going to work on my basketball skills, well, he could actually, but just pick 3 things. 3 things that you would like to feel like that you could most value from or benefit from in defining today. All right, so before we take a break, please stand. Turn to one person next to you, shake their hand and say, thank you for being my partner.
Sitting next to people you already know.
All right.
That's why.
All right, so turn to the person next to you, turn to that person, face them, and put your index finger in the air. Point to that person and say, okay, you go first.
You go first.
I said it first.
No, you go first.
Now that we've elected who's going to go first, the person who's going to go first will just share why they want to work on these 3. Like what is it that they feel that's important, and really, and the other person is really going to decide, is this person really serious about this, or is it just something that you kind of have to see and kind of ask them questions about. So how serious are you about this, or what do you see yourself? Really, sometimes in conversation, our clarity comes out a little bit more. So it's really an exercise to help define that. Okay, so take about 2 minutes per person, or about maybe 90 seconds if you want. 2 minutes, really quick, because it's only 3 things. So the person who goes first will tell this other person why I want to work on these 3 things, and try to make it as convincing as you can to the other person.
I would never do that. She's been 5 and 5.
Even better, even better.
She can explain me why.
But, okay, one thing to protect you guys is that you can't really poke them and say, but you're not doing this great.
I think that's what we needed.
So just keep that as a clause up there. Okay? All right, go ahead.
You go first.
You're going first.
I think you already